What if you had to invite a government agent into your house for a week to do a deep psychological inspection on your entire life? I'm talking your cooking. I'm talking fights with your partner. I'm talking sex life, everything, just so you could have a baby, right? Like, I mean, the birth rate would be 0, let's be honest. But that is the twisted premise of the 2025 film, The Assessment by Fleur Fortuné. This movie is basically a social hostage situation, and it is downright nightmare fuel for introverts, I can imagine. This movie is constantly asking you how you would react in these really weird situations, and then it sort of revels in your cognitive dissonance. In the vein of movies like Karen Kusama's The Invitation or Darren Aronofsky's Mother, it is about a couple who, is following normal social conventions, and then characters get introduced that fucking throw those conventions out the window, and you have to just watch the fallout and the behavior of these people as they're trying to deal with that situation. This movie is a German, UK, US joint film, and it feels very European. I could see this on a scary Scandi movie night bill with maybe like the original Speak No Evil or something like The Lodge, because it's about the dangers of being polite, and it involves quite disturbing subject matter. This film is also quite a sexy film, and I don't mean that it's going to make you want to have sex, although there's inexplicably a lot of like Rachel from Friends going on with Elisabeth Olsen's character, but in the fact that there's a lot of sex in this film, but it takes something that is lovely, which is sex between two consenting people in a relationship, and corrupts it and makes it really uncomfortable and gross. And this movie is really good at that. It takes a lot of sweet things and corrupts them. I was turned on to this like recently by Yemeni from the Yokio app, which is like Letterboxd, if you know it. She's great. But she reviewed this one, and I was like, that sounds right up my fucking alley. Thank you. So thank you, Yemeni. It's a fucking weird film. It's such a weird film, but I'm so glad it's on my radar because almost no one's talking about it, and it's so interesting to me. The Assessment is set in a near future where, due to lack of resources and possibly a pandemic, the world has been separated into two parts. The New World, which is like a complete government dystopia, but has resources and science available for people to somewhat live a life reminiscent of what we have now. And the Old World, which is basically an ecological wasteland, a hellish landscape where there is no rules. This story follows Mia, played by Scarlet Witch Elisabeth Olsen, and Aaron, played by Himesh Patel from Tenet, who have decided that they would be great parents. They're really successful and they're smart, and they can do all the things. So they would like to have a baby. Because of resource scarcity, childbirth is highly regulated in this dystopian world. So they have to undergo a 7-day hellish assessment that is undertaken by a government official who basically comes and stays with them for a week and delves into everything from Rorschach tests to their parents' personality, to their work output, to fucking everything. How they set up their house. They are looking at absolutely everything. And that is how we get to meet government official Virginia, who is played brilliantly by Alicia Vikander, who played Ava in Ex Machina, which is a film I love. This movie actually reminds me of Ex Machina a lot. I'm sure lots of people will be like, hey, this is similar. It's similar in like how it looks and the weird social vibe. And basically the couple realize pretty quickly that Virginia is making their life a living fucking hell. And this movie it's aggravating. This movie is so aggravating, but I mean that in a great way. This movie will push all your buttons like Virginia does. And it is just such socially, like, it makes you uncomfortable. It's an intense watch, and I really enjoyed it. This movie, I was instantly fascinated with the world building in this movie. Mia and Aaron live in this like environmentally controlled dome where they have to engineer everything from food to like animals, and everything in this movie alludes to resource scarcity in the world. It looks like very much like the landscape you'd find on like the side of a volcano or something, you know, like there's lots of dust and pretty much no vegetation. And even the furniture in the house reflects this, right? There's no like big hardwood, or there's no indoor plants or any of that sort of stuff, right? Because they're so rare. The furniture all looks very bright and fake and plasticky, even though it is techie and sci-fi-y. And it's got these big bare spaces, and that reflects the outside world. Like, they put a lot of thought into how everything in this world would look given what's going on in the environment, and I really like that. This movie does a really good job of contextual storytelling, and you can tell how common or uncommon things are in this world because how the characters react to it. You know, something that might seem bonkers or gross to us doesn't seem to cause some of these characters to bat an eyelid, and then you go, okay, this just must be how it is, right? Like, you guys are so under the thumb that this is a part of your day-to-day life, and that's really important when you are making a sci-fi film about a dystopian world, because it doesn't closely resemble our world, so the rules don't apply. So we need to know where the rules are in this world and what we should be reacting to and all that sort of stuff. And it really helps you get put into the character's shoes. Mia and Aaron's relationship is the focus of the story. If you did not believe it or did not care about it, this movie just wouldn't work at all. And I think the writers, Neil Gareth Cox, David Thomas, and John Connolly absolutely nailed it. They nailed their characters. I think they feel real. I think each character has these really deep flaws and, you know, virtues to them, and they all sort of come into play in the story, especially when they're interacting with Virginia, because it ups the stakes, and it also ups the ability of the assessor character Virginia to push them emotionally and mentally. And I do think Virginia is the standout character of this entire movie. Like, she's a fucking nightmare. She watches everything the couple does. She is, because like they themselves don't really know what the rules of the assessment are, right? So there's a lot of scenes in this where you're trying to work out, is she doing her job or is she just really fucking sadistic and over the top? And a lot of the tension in the movie is trying to work out, like, where is that line? Are you doing your job, or did they just get an unlucky assessor, or is this how all the assessors are? It's really good. But, like, honestly, if a 40-year-old walked into my house and for a week and just stayed with me and started acting like a toddler, that would be fucking hellish. I don't think I'd be able to survive, and I don't even live in a dystopian, you know, world. It's really... It would infuriate every part of my physical and emotional being. It's about as close to hell as it comes. This movie will have you dissecting a number of Mia and Aaron's choices and responses to Virginia's behavior and scenarios, and working out what you would have done in that situation, and working out what is the morally correct choice in that situation, right? Because you can't help but pick a side, because Mia and Aaron are great. They're both great characters, but they do have different personalities, so you'll naturally align with one of them in most situations. Even though you know the whole thing is fucked, right? And none of this should be happening. It's really interesting, and it's a really... It's a great testament to Fleur Fortuné's ability to set up a scene. This movie is more on the psychological side or social side of horror. You know, like dinner party horror is how I would probably describe it. It's constantly asking you what you would do in situations, and nothing's black and white. And it's sort of saying, like, when would you pull the plug? And it's a really good discussion piece. I'm excited, and I'm hoping that this movie gets talked about a bit more, because I'm fucking fascinated by the discussions around this movie and, what choices character makes and who was the bad character and why. And it's just a really interesting movie. I love movies that give you a moral quandary to solve. The only real issue I had with this movie is that the ending is not as strong as the first probably 3/4 of the film. The first 3/4, I was absolutely glued to the screen, but there is a reveal that happens about 3/4 of the way through that does take some of the tension out of it. Like, they somewhat explain away the tension. It's not a bad explanation. I think the explanation is fair, but because it happens, like 20, 30 minutes from the end of the film, there is no tension to help carry the film, as opposed to the first 3/4 where you're like, Jesus Christ, this is so uncomfortable and I want it to end. So I do, while I don't have a problem with where the characters ended up and the actual ending and the explanation of the ending of this film, I do wish that they'd had the reveal a bit closer to the actual end of the film, because I think it would have made the film tenser, which is what I'm after in a film. You should watch this movie if you are a fan of sci-fi dystopian worlds. If you like digging into the lore and trying to work out what the fuck's going on, what are the rules, how's it work, how's the government work, how are the logistics of this world working, this is a good one for that. If you like psychological or social thrillers, this is one of those. This is dinner party horror through and through. If you love when movies present you with moral dilemmas like the trolley problem, this movie will have you doing that. This would be a great group watch to go out and like have dinner or beers after watching, just to try and talk about what you would do in each situation. I love movies like that. This is one of them. I don't recommend watching this if you want a straight up scare fest. This is more on the psychological side. This is not jump scares. This is not slashers. There is not lots of death and gore in this movie. It's quite subtle. If you hate art house horror, I would call this an art house horror, so stay away from this one. If you have a low tolerance for sexual themes in horror, probably don't go into this one. There are lots of sex scenes and there are some uncomfortable sexual scenes in this movie that are entirely in the plot. Like, they make complete sense, but I know some people don't like that in those movies. Maybe stay away from this one. If you are looking for a movie that has the same vibe as this one, I highly recommend Yorgos Lanthimos' Killing of a Sacred Deer. It stars Colin Farrell and Nicole Kidman, and it gives me very much the same vibe. It pits a couple against each other due to this sort of mysterious third entity, and it almost feels dystopian due to the weird speech cadence and patterns that they decided to use. It follows a successful surgeon named Stephen, who for some unknown reason has this really almost like mentorship relationship with a 16-year-old boy called Martin, played by Barry Keogh. When Stephen's kid Bob falls into like this paralytic state, Martin comes to Stephen and basically gives him a really difficult choice. Like The Assessment, this movie revels in exploring moral quandaries, and while it's not for everyone, like I know lots of people, this gets mixed reviews online. It certainly is for me. Killing of a Sacred Deer, I fucking love that movie. It's just yucky. It's just a yucky film. It's uncomfortable, and honestly, the fucking Barry Keogh turned me off spaghetti for a month after watching Killing of a Sacred Deer. It's so fucking unpleasant. There's a scene where he eats spaghetti, and it's just, I was like, yeah, stop doing that. It freaked me out. If you want something that's more straight up horror but has a similar vibe and explores weird parental relationships, it's hard to go past the 2009 film Orphan. It's about a couple who, after losing their baby, decide to adopt, and they adopt this 9-year-old Russian girl called Esther. Unfortunately, Esther has more baggage than LAX, and after a couple of days living with her, the couple has to sort of work out how to navigate this fucking nightmare situation. I love Orphan. It's got a lot of love. Orphan First Kill is a sequel that came out recently, but if you're going to watch one, definitely watch the original Orphan. It does hold up because it's just takes place. It's like a chamber piece. It takes place in one house, so there's not like special effects that'll age or anything. I love Orphan. Let me know what you think of the assessment if you've seen it. I'm surprised not more people are talking about it because I find it to be a really interesting film. Even if parts of it don't work for you, it poses a lot of really interesting questions and it has a lot of really interesting themes. And also it's weird that it's not getting more like recognition because Elisabeth Olsen's in it and she's got the whole Marvel machine behind her currently. But yeah, weird. This month too, I'm also doing a community call out, which is where you guys get to pick 3 movies that I will review. I'll do full reviews on 3 movies of your choice. So if you do want to get in on that, I do one every month. I've been finding them really fun. They're also a great way to knock through my watch list. And I'll link to that in the comments. So just go through and chuck a movie you want me to review in there. And hopefully I'll see you next week for another review. Peace.